It's really difficult coming to do videos like this when we perform in the way how we did today. How you look at the selection of players and questions and eyebrows start to raise. And then when you see as the team go, you see nothing for you there to cling on. As an Arsenal fan, I pride myself in trying to be as positive as one can be. You know, I know it's not easy supporting Arsenal, and I know no one likes to lose, but this game was different. This is a game against Tottenham Hotspur, a side that is at the top of the table, who I absolutely fucking hate seeing them at the top of the table. And you come into this game thinking, you know what, like, form goes out the window. And it's the one thing I hope form went out the window. And unfortunately, it's another game where we've lost. And I can honestly say now, watching the game, doing the live stream with the team at 101 Arsenal, I can honestly say beyond a shadow of a doubt, this all comes down to Mikel Arteta and the players that he has chosen on the pitch. That's the core part of it, because he chooses the players that's on the pitch. Then you gotta ask yourself, why is Bellerin playing? Why Bernd Leno's positioning was off for the first goal? Why Granit Xhaka continuously, week after week after week after week, continuously gets in this first team? What does even the pundits, Jamie Redknapp, Graham Souness, Alex Scott, all asked, what the fuck does Granit Xhaka bring in this midfield? But still, game after game, week after week, we see this same man come into our first team and perform the same way that he does every single week without any change. And it has nothing to do with mistakes that he makes, and he does make mistakes. The simple of the matter of the fact is that Granit Xhaka just isn't good enough. It just is. Then there's Hector Bellerin, who constantly gets caught out of position. Part of that is to do with the tactics that we play, and probably to do with instruction. And I want to say this first of all, I like Bellerin. I think that Bellerin, we could sell Bellerin. Bellerin could go to another team and end up playing like pretty well. But what is the instructions coming from Arteta? Constantly, he and the midfield constantly get caught out of position where it's so easy for teams to hit us on the counter attack. We all knew how Mourinho was going to play. Mourinho plays in the same way he always does. He sits back, he soaks up pressure, and he hits you on the counter attack. And that's exactly what he did here today. And for some reason, no one ever bothers to fucking learn. Why? Bernd Leno, completely off his line for Son's goal. Great goal by Son, but he should have been on his line to try to deal with it. There was more than enough players ahead of him for even him to think he could have been closer to his goal. But with that one, you can make the argument that I'm kind of clutching at straws. Then Thomas Partey starts. He gets injured throughout the game. Don't know what his injury is going to look like. The story was that there was a 20% chance that he could re-injure himself or injure himself where it could be worse. It looks like we lost that bet, so my guess is that Partey's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Don't quote me on that. That's just my theory based on these type of muscle injuries. So let's see what happens. Then we got to talk about the front three, or the strike force: Willian, Aubameyang, and Lacazette. So I'll start with Lacazette first off. So Laka, I thought, played pretty decently. I thought he had a good game in the Europa League, played really well in that number 10 position. According to Sky Sports, Arsenal were playing with a 4-2-3-1, which is kind of how it looked like at times, depending on whether we had the ball or not. But yeah, Laka was okay. Willian, non-effective is probably the best thing that I would say. For someone that makes over 200 grand a week, I see nothing from Willian. I really do. I see nothing from him. I am wondering what was Edu thinking. I mean, initially when we signed Willian, I thought with Arsenal not having the funds needed, he would have been the best free choice you could possibly get, particularly for an experienced wide player. That's what it looked Arsenal were looking at. And I thought Willian, I was like, you know what, like fine. And you know, eyebrows were raised when I heard how much he was making, over 200 grand a week, because I don't think he's worth 200 grand a week, maybe more like 120 grand a week or 100 grand a week based on his experience and what he could potentially bring. I had never paid Willian 200 grand a week, but nevertheless, Willian has still shown that he is impotent in the attack and in the creative sense. And then there's our captain, who I've given nothing but plaudits to on this channel, on social, online, on all social media platforms. I've admired what Aubameyang has done for this club and helping out this Arsenal side in so many times. I mean, last season we were literally Aubameyang FC rather than Arsenal FC, because everything went through him. Like, he was the reason why we were scoring goals, and in a way it's probably the reason why we aren't doing so well, because we're not scoring goals. But I don't want to put it all on Aubameyang. I do understand he has not been great at all, and it is a bit of a shame. I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's confidence. I really don't know, but I think it's kind of funny. You know, fans have already come out and said immediately he signs a contract and then doesn't really perform that well. And I think that this is one of these situations. He still hasn't performed, and you gotta ask yourself, like, is his heart just really just not in it? He had a couple of chances today, but just nothing really there. But credit, you gotta give credit to Spurs. They played really well. Moaning Mourinho had them ticking like a clock. Their defense didn't make any mistakes. Their midfield didn't make any mistakes in anything. Everything that we tried just seemed to be kind of dealt with their midfield, with Højbjerg and Sissoko. And their defense played really, really well. But I will say this, Mikel Arteta, the pressure is on. The fans are now back in the stadium, and you will start to feel the wrath of all the negative Arsenal fans. And like, I try to be positive, but you are making it incredibly difficult for fans like me who try to be positive to still support you. I am not Arteta. I want to clarify this. I am not Arteta. But I am at a point where I'm like, Arteta, make some fucking changes. Like, we need to see something different. Make some changes. Get these tactics right. It's not difficult. It really isn't. If you want a midfield that is also able to cover the wide areas, whether you're playing 4 at the back, 3 at the back, it can be done. It really can be done. I know it can be done. If you played 3 at the back, how about this back 3? No. Check this back 3 out. You could play with a back 3 of Maitland-Niles. Well, no, sorry. Kieran Tierney, Gabriel, and let's say Holding in that midfield. And you could always substitute instead of Holding like a David Luiz type. Then in those attacking wing-back roles, you need to have people that are versatile enough that not only do they play the wing-back role, but they can also play within midfield and potentially also play in defense. This is where someone like a Maitland-Niles comes into play, and for me, could also be a Callum Chambers, or you could play even a Cedric Soares, who even though can't really play in midfield, he's a really good player that you could also play at right back, meaning that if you want, you could always slot Maitland-Niles into the midfield and Tierney could go at left wing back, thereby giving yourself a really solid foundation to once again work with. Nevertheless, you could do it like that. In midfield, Thomas Partey is injured, fine. You still have El Nene there. You got Maitland-Niles who can play in that midfield. You got Ceballos who can play there. Granit Xhaka should not even be there. He doesn't fit the bill of what we're trying to do anymore. You could put, if you want creativity, which I know everybody's clamoring for, I know everybody keeps talking about Ozil. Ozil can't play in the first team. He's not even registered for us to play. Like, you have to be registered with the Premier League in order to be able to play. He's not registered in the 25-man roster, which means that the earliest that we could really play him is February. So that's just not going to happen. But until then, you know, you've got young players like Reece Nelson. You still got your Sakas there, who I thought was one of the real bright sparks of the game. You got the Emile Smith-Rowe there. Have I said Reece Nelson? You got, even though I think he flatters to deceive, Nicola Pepe, you could also play there as well. Whether it being in the diamond or any one of the front three. And then there's just a simple matter of who do you play up front. Now that's always a difficult one because it's according to the strikers on what they're doing. Well, we need to find out why exactly they're not scoring the goals. But try something different, because I'm tired of talking about Arsenal losing every single week. This shit gets demoralizing. It really is. And I hate having to rant like this on a game. I should be talking about some of the positives which happened in this game. Big positive, Gabriel once again had a really good game today. I know he was in a defense that ended up conceding 2 goals, but for me, he tried so hard. There was a time where Gabriel took the ball from defense and tried to run through midfield to be able to get things going. You could tell he was desperate, like all of us, to try to get things going. Changes are needed. They really are. I'm not on the bandwagon of sacking managers just because I feel that financially where Arsenal are, if you sack Arteta and you bring somebody else in, you're just going to get a situation like what happened between Arteta and Ljungberg and Emery, whereby Emery started out playing Torreira as a DM. That kind of continued under Ljungberg. Arteta comes in, he's not a fan of Torreira, probably because he doesn't really like small DMs, so he ships him off. Guendouzi's been shipped off because he's got a bad behaviour and he refused to apologise regards to everything with Brighton. That I can understand, but you could have a new manager that's like, you know what, I don't like Aubameyang, I want to get rid of him, and Aubameyang will be gone. And based on the current form, I know that some people might agree with that, but you know, if you bring in a new manager, he's going to have his likes and dislikes, and then that will mean that some other players won't get played as much. And you got to start to ask yourself questions. Why isn't Mikel Arteta trying something new? Like, somebody must have something on him. How Granit Xhaka gets in this midfield every single week, I have no idea. You got El Nene on the bench, who from the time he's been back at Arsenal, he's played really well. For me, he's played better than Xhaka every single time. Why isn't he starting? I really don't get it. And I honestly believe that when you hear about the so-called leaders in the dressing room, the Mesut Ozils, I know Arteta's kind of put Ozil to the side. Well, at least the Arsenal backroom, or the people that are really at the top of Arsenal have really said, Ozil, he's done, he's finished. But players like Xhaka, who I understand is a bit of a leader in the dressing room, players like Lacazette and Aubameyang and Willian, obviously because they've brought him in, some of them you need to drop. You got to try something different. This cannot keep going on, Mikel. We've got Burnley next week. I do not want to see the same fucking squad as I have done today. I want to see changes. And that's all I can really say. So guys, leave your comments below. I know a lot of you are itching to talk about what's going to happen, what's happened in this game. I know it's a bit of a long video, my apologies, but I've had a lot to get off my chest, and this game was definitely a bit of a gut punch, bit of a kick in the teeth, because I expected more, and I expected more from Mikel Arteta to try to change things in a way that I feel would have been better based on the performances of other players when they have played in, for example, the Europa League. So leave your comments below. I hope things will change. What do you think? Formation? How do you think today's game went? Fuck, I know that's a silly question, but leave your comments on how you thought the game went today. Who were the bright spots? Who were the bad? What do you think? Are you Arteta in, Arteta out? Interesting to hear what that looks like now. I mean, there's been quite a few people that subscribed to the channel that really told me Arteta out a month ago. So I'm really looking to see if that's still the case, or everybody trying to be positive. So leave your comments below. Do remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you all on my next video, whereby I'll be talking on some loan reports, and then I'll also be giving a preview for the Europa League game on Thursday. But until then, I will see you all